you feeling stuck, lost, tired, or uninspired? We've all been there, including myself. I'm Coach Des, mindset motivator and lifestyle entrepreneur. I'm here to tell you that the best, unapologetic, and limitless version of yourself is yet to come. The Born Unbreakable podcast is here to inspire just that. With motivating guests from all different walks of life and around the world, their stories will empower you to unlock abundance and your unbreakable spirit. Do you need accountability? Reach out to me for a free consultation of how I can support you in reaching your maximum potential. This episode is brought to you by Sherpa Way Marketing. Are you a business looking to gain greater visibility online through search engine optimized content? Maybe you need effective ad campaigns to kickstart or bolster traffic to your website. Sherpa Way Marketing has seasoned experts that are bilingual in English and Spanish. Let them take the guesswork away and enhance your brand positioning with their comprehensive marketing services. Go to sherpawaymarketing.com. That's SHERPAWAY marketing.com to schedule your free 45-minute consultation today. Welcome to the Born Unbreakable podcast. Oh my gosh, my guest and I, Reynaldo Santana, have had this morning of technical difficulties. So it is a blessing that we are here together right now. Able to have this amazing conversation. So it's one of those mornings, Reynaldo.
Yeah, it is.
Oh my gosh.
Friday.
Oh my. Well, let me tell you about my guest and we will jump right into the content that we're going to get into today. We're going to talk about grants and how to get them. That's what we're talking about today. So, Reynaldo is the founder and president of ESG Housing. He's also the founder and president of Impact Annex. That's what we're going to focus on today. And Impact Annex helps those with digital nonprofits to get grants for support because we know how important and critical that is to get off the ground and be able to do all the amazing things that you do as a digital company. He's a former tech executive, so he's got a ton of experience in this space. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's an investor. He does speaking. He's a philanthropist. And so I'm just so excited to have you here today to share your wisdom with my audience. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Des, for having me here today. And thank you, everyone, for listening to this podcast. I look forward to sharing more about what I'm up to and the mission I'm on to impact 1 billion people.
Oh, that's amazing. But I noticed when I was looking at your feed that you took your wife and your mom on a trip somewhere really nice and tropical. Where did you go?
So we went to Miami, Florida, and we had the opportunity to go to Fisher Island. And for those folks who don't know about Fisher Island, it is I just found out earlier this week, Fisher Island is the most richest or expensive zip code in America. I didn't know that. And so there's only about 497 people who live on the island. And I mean, people who live there are millionaires, billionaires. I mean, just the initial fee to get there is to be a resident, you have to pay $250,000 plus a few millions for the condo. I mean, Jesus,
Wow.
I've never experienced it before, but I can say that I felt really fortunate that I was able to bring my wife and my mom. It was their first time in Florida, and first time anyone in our family history tree step on that island. So for me, it felt really like a proud moment of all my hard work and, just giving back and meeting great people. So.
It looked beautiful. It looked beautiful. And I know you are tuning in today from Boston, Massachusetts, right? How is the weather comparable over there at this time of the year?
Yeah, so finally, Massachusetts, we are back in our 80s, sometime 90s. And it feels comfortable, but I must say it's not as comfortable as, those beaches in Florida and having a nice little warm water to go into, because the water here is really, really cold.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing, but also,
Yeah.
but I've been here my whole life in Massachusetts. I was born here. My family came from the Dominican Republic. And I've been fortunate to also see the world. I lived in Dominican Republic for a year. I lived in Mexico for a year and a half. I lived in San Francisco. I've been to Colombia and Venezuela many times. So I've had a chance to see the world in some different perspectives, and that's also helped me a lot to mature and also think differently about life and about business and how people think and react to certain things. So overall, this journey has transformed me to the person I am today. So I'm happy about that.
That's incredible. You've been in my neck of the woods. So right now I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada, but I'm from the Bay Area. So you spend some time there. That's really cool. I was born in San Francisco actually and lived a little bit all over the place. So it's amazing that you've had such an incredible journey. But so I have to start with asking, how did you get into your industry? What's your story? You've gotten to the space of investing and grants. What took you here?
That's a big question, Des, but I'm happy to share with everyone today here. I was one of those folks that in 2020, during the pandemic or this COVID era, I lost my job and I had to start from zero. And I was working for a tech company that they were called V Engineers, and they produce virtual reality glasses worth $10,000 per piece. Pretty expensive. But the clients that we had, you're talking about NASA, BMW, Ferrari, Lamborghini, the different military branches. I mean, I was working on some high tech technology there, and I was head of BD or business development for North America, and I was, the company's based out of Czech Republic, so I was an expensive resource for them. So I got laid off, and you wouldn't believe it. I mean, I got married February 2020, February 28th. Came back to Boston the following day. The gates closed. Didn't see my wife for 7 months. From February to April, that's when I got laid off. And I'm like, oh my God, it's not supposed to work this way. I'm supposed to have a steady job, right? Have, get married and then have a stable life to, have kids, etc. No, I got, life hit me and like it hit many people out there by surprise, right? And it happens. But, I tried to apply for new jobs and people weren't hiring because of COVID and all the budget people had got frozen. So it was out of luck in some ways, but thankfully, because of the experiences I mentioned, I had a chance to travel around the world and do my own startups. Run some risks left and right. I've matured a lot. I feel a lot of confidence about who I am, what I can offer. So what I did was during the pandemic, I empowered myself. I said, you know what? Well, let's do real estate, just because I always wanted to get into real estate. And I started reading books. I started taking some of my savings and invested it into great education, like MIT and Harvard. They have an online platform. I did that. I got myself a real estate coach. I did an internship with my best friend, Steven, for a month. And then I started doing my own real estate transactions, doing some wholesaling. And I made some money in 2 weeks. I'm like, wow, this is great. This works. Oh my God, I'm alive. Okay. So what I did was I incorporated a business called Santana Capital Group, where I wanted to bring in my tech knowledge into real estate, because when you're in real estate and you're dealing with people and investors, they want to see a track record, they want to see some experience under your belt, and I had none. So then one day, I'm walking to the office, and I meet a gentleman who was helping for-profit businesses have access to grants. I'm like, huh? How's that possible? And he told me, well, basically, I help for-profits create a nonprofit, give them access to grants, and they have to teach people. And by teaching, people are attracted to you. I'm like, interesting. So I said, can you do it for me? I mean, can I pay you and you can do it, help me with my real estate stuff? And so he did. And so I got a nonprofit called REI Authority. And basically there I was teaching people about technology and how that involves real estate and how they go hand to hand now. And little to no, 2-3 months later, I have clients come after me, well, in a good way, for help. And those clients became partners, they became investors, they became clients of mine. And it worked very well, all because I was teaching people about real estate and technology. Now, I was camera shy, but I got through it because I had to. But it was strange teaching, just looking at my computer, my camera, and silence around me. But I got over that hump. But anyways, it worked. And I told this gentleman, you know what? I'd like to create a business around this, just because I love how it's structured, where one has to give before they receive. They have to teach on what they know mostly about. And in exchange, you have access to grants, you have access to, impacting more people out there. And at the end of the day, you're also supporting your financial bottom line for your for-profit. So I created a business called Impact Annex, and I invited the gentleman.
You're back.
All right. All right, I'm back. I hear you.
You're back. Yay.
I was gonna roll too.
I know. This is just this is us rolling with the punches. Speaking of technology, of which you know so much about, these are the real things that happen, right? But where you got cut off is when you said that you started up Impact Annex, and then you invited a gentleman in, and then you were you cut out.
Yes. So I incorporated a business called Impact Annex, where I invited the gentleman to be part of the business to, work on the back end, the operations, and I'll lead with the vision and be the front face and help build a strategy around it. So basically what we come up with is Impact Annex, building a philanthropic arm to your for-profit business to 10x your social impact and to help your business grow. I'm someone who I used to have the mindset of, you know what, I have to wait until become rich or wealthy to become a philanthropist and help people, or I have to hit a milestone to get to that level. What I learned through my own experience that anyone can start today in terms of becoming a philanthropist. And that's what I teach in terms of give before you receive, by educating people. And that's where that digital nonprofit word came into place. Is we're not looking to create a storefront. We're looking to just create a website where you educate people on how you help them. So if you're a for-profit owner and you sell your products and your services, well, how about if you just educate people on how your products, services help them, how you fulfill their need, their pain points, because that's also educational, right? And now during the pandemic, I think more and more people were online, and people were trying to figure out what to do with their lives. And we can also agree that today consumers do a lot more due diligence on people, on companies, and they're typing in, how do I do this? Or what's the difference between this and this and this? Or who is this person? And by having now a nonprofit, it changes the ballgame, because I think people see nonprofit as, oh, they have no money, or oh, they're always just asking for money, or those people just care about peace and nothing else. And, I think people overlook nonprofit and they have no idea how powerful a nonprofit is. And I challenge folks. I say, you know what? I dare you to Google your favorite celebrity, actor, actress, or politician, and 8 out of 10 times they're going to have a nonprofit themselves. And, for many reasons. I mean, it can be for tax reasons, because there's tax incentives. It can be for 10x their impact, or have access to grants to do a lot more things like new buildings or new offices or new schools, et cetera. Nonprofit can really help you with that. So folks overlook it. And I'm happy to kind of tap into this and learn more about it, and now kind of share all those best practices with little guys and have them also shine bright like a diamond, like they say in the songs.
That's right.
But one powerful thing that I've learned through incorporating digital nonprofits for people is, yes, you have access to grants, and one of the powerful grants out there that I want to share today is the Google Ad Grant that has been around since 2003. And what makes this grant really special is that Google gives you $10,000 of ad credits per month to advertise your organization. And as long as your nonprofit is compliant, which means you're paying your annual filing fee, which can range from $12 all the way to $100, et cetera, this grant is yours forever, for a lifetime. And some people don't believe it because it's too good to be true, but I tell them, just search Google Ad Grants and you'll find it. And just think about what you can do with $10,000 of ad credits per month to advertise your business. I mean, you can reach out to new markets. You can build your own research and development department to collect data from folks and learn what their pain points are, so you can develop new product and services. Right? You can start teaching courses, workshops, have your own podcast to increase your followings. That all falls under education. And what's great about it is that for folks who have a nonprofit, believe it or not, you can pay yourself a salary from your nonprofit as well. So that's pretty awesome. And that's one of my things that I'm working on to impact 1 billion lives, is that on my nonprofit called ESG Housing Inc., we're looking to build affordable homes for people. And Impact Annex is going to sponsor the tenants that live in our affordable homes to have their own digital nonprofit to teach about what they know mostly about, and create an opportunity for them as well to have their own salary from their own nonprofit, so that we take money off the equation and we kind of plug in empowerment. Let people lead their own destiny, their own future, by teaching what they know about the most, and keep money out of it. You see? So I know I said a lot, but I'm a pause.
Oh my
right there.
gosh. I'm mind blown, because I just want to acknowledge a couple of things. Number one, where you started with this story, with this conversation, is having lost everything. Okay. So you're starting from a place of having a blank canvas, because what you once knew was no longer. Not to mention, you're a newlywed and can't even be with your wife. And you did have a choice. You could have wallowed in that situation, but you got to work right away. You poured yourself into learning, you got knowledge, but more than that, because knowledge isn't power, it's potential power. It's when you harness it and you apply it that it becomes powerful. And that's exactly what you did. So you did those partnerships, and very quickly you were able to do something. But I think this is one of the biggest takeaways that I'll highlight for anybody who's listening. One of the things that Reynaldo did was to understand where we are in the current day to solve a problem that exists right now. You're looking at the world going, okay, we're in a very digitized society. It's a global network. It's not even just America, So technology is here. We've got a lot of people virtual now because of the nature of where we are. We're technically still in this pandemic. We just have more protocols to help us more safely engage with each other. But by and large, most companies are doing something virtual still, even if they're back in their offices. So you're capitalizing on this shift that we've made, the utilization of technology, and figuring out how to bring together the arm of a for-profit business to a nonprofit entity that can actually help multifold with education, with growth, and with empowerment. And that's insane. It is a real problem. I have a really good friend who has a nonprofit and had just recently went through this process and she's still going through it, where she does stuff in the education space for youth who are trying to use digital for good, so that we can take the negativity off of social media and that kind of stuff. So but it's quite the task figuring out how to continue funding that work. So it's crazy. So my question for you is going to be so if you're in that situation, right? Like, let's say somebody is already down that path. Um, where does one start? Because from what I understand, this is the process that most people do. I've done this myself personally. You have a business, you have a platform, and you just Google grants. And then you Google it and you're like, this sounds good. And then you look at how the effort that it's going to take. And then you're like, I don't know if I have the qualifications and the background to fill this out to the best of my ability to be able to get this grant. And I don't want to put all this time and energy in for something that's such a small possibility. And so they either stop right there because it just seems too daunting, or they're like, I need to hire a grant writer. How do I find somebody who's capable of doing that? And then that's its own whole nother process.
Yeah, so it's a loaded question because there's a lot there. I like to start people with the Google ad grant, just because that gives you off the bat a $10,000 credit to attract donors to you, or attract volunteers to you, or clientele. What are you looking for in your nonprofit? And what's great about it is that if you're already an existing nonprofit with the 501c3 status, then you're already there. You just have to apply, which is great. And the process to get the grant for Google takes about a month or two. So it's pretty quickly, and it's open for anyone around the world, by the way. It's not like one of those grants where it's like only one time per year. Here's the deadline. If you don't do it on time, then you lose out. No, this is rolling basis, by the way. And Google has a reason why they do it. I'm sure they save money, taxes, and also social good for them, and to get more people to use their platform. But I like to get people started on that grant first, just because it's easier in some ways, but also it boosts up their organization. Number two is that Google works with a third party. Their only partner in this. They're called TechSoup. And TechSoup is in several countries around the world. And TechSoup, their job is to validate nonprofits, but also partner up with Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies to provide discounts, grants, resources to nonprofits as well. For example, you can get free laptops if you want, or discounts to like Dropbox or Zoom or Adobe Works. There's several software out there. So it does help nonprofits to lower their costs as well through TechSoup. And number three, in terms of looking for grant writers, I would say, try your own personal network. That helps first. Number two, you have those freelancer websites, Upwork and Fiverr. But it's really important that when you try to find a grant writer, that person has experience in the niche that you're in, because not every grant writer is going to be great for you. Because it really comes down to language and how that person writes, and ties in closely to the mission and vision of that resource that's providing the grant, right? So that's number three. And I would say number four is try your best to do the process yourself, even though it's going to be daunting. It's going to be scary in some ways, but I think it's really important that you go through it yourself as well, to understand some of the questions. Because what I've noticed on applying for grants from my own nonprofit, many of the questions that people ask you for grants, the majority of them are common questions. Who are you? What do you do? Why do you do it? Who's your target audience? What's the impact you're going to have? What's the budget look like? Right? All the same questions. So once you kind of do 2 to 3 applications and you have already these set answers, you can use that for other applications, Mm-hmm. So it kind of cuts the work for you. And then it just comes down to, are you good with, tying that person's or that company's mission and vision into your mission and vision as well? Because that's what they care about, is that the money's being used for good, that matches their mission and vision, and you can create 10x impact. So I'm gonna stop there because that's a lot that I mentioned, but that's my advice on that.
Yeah, no, that's so helpful. And you're right. The more at bats you have, the more confident you become, and it gets easier with each time. And then you can start building maybe a team, or you have resources that you can tap into, but everything starts somewhere. You have to take that first step for the second and the third and the fourth one to get easier and easier. One of the questions that I had is, how I mean, in your, maybe just in your research and your experience, how much are people not tapping into grants? I feel like it's this untapped potential, where it's kind of like there's money on the table and people, they're either just not aware of it as a resource. I mean, how much do you find that when you either have clients come to you or just in working with investors and people who fund these things?
So I can say on the Google side of things, the Google ad grant, 98.5% of times people have never heard of the Google ad grant before. And that's been around since 2003, right? And every single day I'm speaking to people, I'm on podcasts, and I still have those high margins. People do not know about Google's $10,000 per ad grant each month. So that tells you something. Google's huge. Everybody knows Google, but yet people don't know what the nonprofit. I mean, wow, it's amazing. So that's one thing. I think number two is I think people get overwhelmed just because I think when it comes to schooling or education or friends, I think we all know a lot more about for-profits than nonprofits. Mm-hmm. So I think it's an educational piece as well. There's many resources out there to help people get started with for-profits, but I think not that much for nonprofits. And so I think that's one little hump that we should solve overall as a community, is to educate more people on nonprofits and how to get started and how to go through the motions. In terms of investors, so some investors would donate to your nonprofit as long as, again, it's close to their heart and it's in the same industry or same niche. So I've seen a little bit of both, where I reached out to real estate investors for donations for my nonprofit that's tailored to real estate. And yes, some do donate and some don't, because they just have a different cause that they want to donate to, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. But I think overall, starting can be a challenge if you're not comfortable asking. I mean, the reason why I went to Fisher Islands is because my mentor, she's a billionaire. I'm blessed to have that in my life. But it took 6 years to get that relationship and that trust to the point where she invited me to her home. And, mm-hmm. I brought my wife and my mom with me. And basically, so I asked her that question as well, in terms of, can I ask some advice on how do I work with high net worth individuals like yourself in terms of asking for donations and stuff like that. And she told me, it's all about relationship. You have to stay in touch with them. You have to meet with them for coffee, for lunch or dinner, just to build that relationship. And the most important thing is you have to ask. If you don't ask for the donation or the help, they won't help you. You can talk all about you want about the nonprofit left and right, but if you don't ask, they will not give you money.
You shall not receive.
So, I mean, I'm someone who, I don't like to ask for money because I just feel weird. But now I have my own nonprofit. I'm getting in the habit of asking. You have to make sure it is okay to ask. And one activity that I went through in a mastermind group a few years ago, it was pretty interesting. They had us. They gave us a little assignment where we had to go to the street, go into 3 different restaurants, and ask someone to eat off their plate. Like I have to ask them, like, hey, can I eat a French fry or something off your plate? And that sounds like a big challenge. I'm like, there's no way.
Oh my gosh. That's so nerve-wracking.
Yes. And you know what? I did it. And all 3 folks said, yeah, sure, not a problem. Take whatever you want.
Wow.
I'm like, what? So I can't believe it, but it works. And that's show you how powerful it is just to ask people.
Just to ask, you just never know. But I will say, because that's probably one of the biggest things. Even when I talk to people about sales and things, it's just that awkwardness of like, mm-hmm. overthinking, and then rejection, and all of those processes that you go through. And I think this question, I feel like I actually learned this from a real estate investor, which is so ironic. But his name is Justin Morales, and he wrote this book called The Abundance Effect. And I met him on a cruise. And and we were talking, and his book is awesome. He sent it to me. And the question that he talked about was, what's the worst that could happen? Like when he's talking to people, it's like, oh gosh, when you say it that way, even if somebody was like, no, I'm not interested, that's the worst that could happen. It's not that bad. And then you keep going and you build that resilience, you build that confidence, but it's just the initial, discomfort that you have to get past. And I do think that's part of one of the hardest steps.
So I agree with you 100%. One thing that changed my life relating to this, and I think everybody who's listening, is looking at the word fear. As we grow up, we think about fear as something that we're scared of. We're taught that we're scared of some fear. Mm-hmm. But if we shift our minds where fear and rise, it changes the whole ballgame for you. Wow. And that's what allowed me to really to just, shift gears, let's make something happen. Is that feeling of, go after it. If it's hard, even better, face everything and rise.
Face everything and rise. Yeah. Have that perseverance. So tell me more about your goal. So you talked about these billions lives that you want to impact. What are the things that you're doing to reach your goal with your business?
Yes. So when it comes to Impact Annex, always looking for partnerships, JV relationships from other countries, not just the US and Canada. I want to spread this like a great virus in a good way, because I think this can impact anyone around the world. I mean, if you think about it as an example, $10,000 in Colombia, right, is about 30 to 40 million pesos a month. And for them, that's a lot of money. So it really allows you to, perhaps if you're a business or something, a nonprofit, promote whatever you're doing to other countries, other regions, and have new clientele, right? And help your business grow. Having the opportunity to travel to Mexico, third world countries, second world countries, indigenous communities, you'd be surprised with it. There's so many smart people out there who have so much talents, and they just need a way to expand their voice, expand what they're doing worldwide. And sometimes, again, money is that issue. They don't have that advertising budget to go out there and do things, right? So this is an opportunity where, in their country, they can do a nonprofit for free or little to nothing. And I can help them get that grant so they can just promote what they're doing and change their family tree forever, So the impact is huge. So I'm always looking to partner up with folks, this country, any country worldwide, and kind of work together to make that possible. And then also, on my nonprofit, ESG Housing, Inc. This is pretty cool. So I don't know how much does about 3D printing. People have heard about it. They think about small printers in a room that can do a cup, spoons, forks, something small. But now 3D printing machines can now print a home using a robotic machine that can print 10 times faster. It's much more efficient. It's all green technology, and there's no waste to it. It's a lot safer environment for people. And so far, I've been focusing on this for the past 2 years, and we have a few projects here in Massachusetts and also in Latin America. And what's great about it is that so far, I know in the US, we're behind in building and construction and homes. And I'm sure that could be the same fact for other countries as well. Well, with this type of machine, within 1 week, you can build a whole shell of a home, and then bring the traditional contractors to put plumbing, heating, HVAC, etc., but a lot faster. So I believe if I can build a lot of homes very quickly, we can meet those demands, especially for those folks that are low income. They'll have access to this a lot faster. And with Impact Annex, I can sponsor the tenants to have their own digital nonprofits and kind of give them that support that they need to kind of take control of their life and create passive income and pay themselves some sort of a salary from their nonprofit and go from there. So that's my dream, my hopes, and my goal is that I can impact 1 billion people through creating many homes and also empowering people. Like I was empowered to step up and do something that I love to do and have control of my own destiny. Because if I didn't make that choice many years ago, I would not have taken that far to trip and be on Fisher Island. I would have still been stuck somewhere. Unfortunately, it is sad just because I do have friends who I admire so much, and they're not happy with their lives. And I try to give them tips and advice, and it just they stay in that circle. And I was one of those folks that I had to leave that circle, and it was very hard. And I know many of us that are listening can align with me that sometimes when you leave your circle, your friends and your family go against you, or they think negative about you. And it's tough when you're the only positive person and everybody else that you love is negative, and you're trying to battle through that until you hit success in a way that you can prove to them, hey, I did it. I told you so. And they're like, oh, okay, you did it. Wow. That was amazing.
Maybe I'll listen to you
kind of
now.
thing, you know?
Maybe I'll listen to you now.
Exactly.
No, you
So-
know that's so true because I talk about it probably ad nauseum, but because it's so critical is the people you have around you, because it can make or break you. They can bring you down or lift you up, and it's a choice. Every day we decide where our time will be invested with people. Time is the most precious commodity that we have on the planet. Why would you take that precious commodity and spend it with anything less, anyone less than who is going to invest in you the same way that you're investing in them? I'm not talking about, maybe sometimes there's money, but I'm talking more about the richness of, exchange, that connection, the power of energy. And there's negative energy and there's positive energy. And so that brings me to a question, for you, because you are someone who has chosen that route of positivity. What do you do to maintain your positive energy, because there are so many things that can bring you down? And how? So just like the example you talked about with your mentor who's took you to Fisher Island, how do you maintain quality relationships, with people, and especially those who are, feeding into your dreams and your hopes and your vision?
Yeah. So I'll answer that question first, and then the motivation one.
Yeah.
So I think it all comes down to transparency. Be honest 100% with yourself and with other people. I think today in this world of social media, people hide a lot of things. They live two different lives, and it catches up to you after a while. And I think people who are millionaires or billionaires, they go through the same stage in terms of sacrificing hard work. I mean, many different things that a business owner goes through, and they can see through the bull crap, you can say. They can see through the filters, and they respect you when you're honest with yourself. They respect you if you're transparent where you are. If you ask for help, and you show that you're hungry and you want to do good in life. And I think that's really important. And that what really helped me get through college and after college is being transparent with myself. I mean, when I'm on other interviews, I mentioned about the starting point where things changed for me was when my first mentor, who I didn't know who it was yet, right? It was at the Apple store. I was working there as a salesperson. I sold him an iPad. He was a doctor, 6'3", tall guy, Caucasian. And he asked me 3 educational questions, which all 3 I failed to answer. And he called me a stupid Dominican. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Now, in my shoes will kind of do a Will Smith slap at that moment.
Yeah, at least mentally, if nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, you're a stupid Dominican. I'm like, what?
Come again.
Exactly. So at that time, I mean, I had to like, I can react negatively and be angry and make a show or something, a drama.
Yep.
Or B is own up to it. Right? Are you really happy? Are you really smart? Are you really where you want to be? And I told him, you know what, sir, you're right. I am a stupid Dominican. Help me become a smart Dominican. And he's like, smart answers, child, smart answer. So now he gave me his phone number. He's like, call me. Let's meet up for coffee, and we'll go from there. I reached out 5 to 6 times because he didn't answer me the first 4 or 5 times until like the 5th or 6th time he answered up. He's like, you know what? Let's meet tomorrow 9 a.m. Starbucks. Boom. We did that, and he said, you know why I'm here today? Because you proved to me that you really want to change. You really want to become a smart kid, and I want to help you. He's like, I'm a medical doctor, but I'm very, very smart. I have a few mentees that I mentor, and they're all below your age. I think for you it's too late, but I'll give you a try. And
wow,
I
he
didn't
is
prove him
really
wrong.
blunt. He's like at every turn, like, listen, like, I think it's too late, but I'll give it a try anyways. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this guy was buying iMacs laptops for little kids just so they can get access to education and learn. I mean, this guy, he made $250K a year, and he spent 95% on just donating it to kids for education purposes. So yeah, good man. And yeah, he took me under his wing. He threw books at me. He threw history at me. He said, what do you want to become? I said, a business person, successful. He's like, all right, I'm gonna show you how to eat different culture, different foods, so that your taste buds open up and you can have conversation with people and be charismatic and stuff like that. Because before, believe it or not, I was an introvert, and I kind of became an extrovert in some ways. So it really helped me a lot, and he inspired me to have 3 concentrations in college, go after my master's, and understand and value education overall. Because the same guy you see here is not the same one back in high school. Man, I was all about music. I played the trumpet and piano since the age of 7. I still do, by the way. But
Wow.
it's all
That's
about
awesome.
me, nothing else. Yeah. So I'm bringing it up just because I had to be honest with myself before I made any changes. And that what helped me to develop. And as I foster relationships, and people see me on Facebook, every New Year's, I kind of tell people what was the bad and what was the good. Because I think people are used to just seeing good, but not showing the success or the hard work to get there and the struggles.
Yeah.
And I remember at 20, I told folks, hey, I lost my job too. I had to start from zero too. I only had a savings, and I had to start from zero. And this is what I did within that year gap, these 2 years gap, to show people that, hey, it is possible. It comes down to your mindset, and it comes down to your why. And that goes to the motivation question you asked earlier, is how do you get through it? And you have to have a very strong why reason. Why do you get up every morning? What's going to get you up when you're depressed, when you're sad, when, something hits the fan, when things go bad? What's going to help you get up again? For me, it's always been to, help my parents out, just because they come from a third world country. They struggle, they sacrifice, they worked, 70 hours a week in a shoe factory. My grandma had to raise me up part-time in the projects, and all that I saw it as a young boy. I didn't understand it when I was younger, but I did. I was growing up and seeing my mom sacrificing her breakfast so that I can eat it, to make me happy and feel good. I mean, all that small things, I begin to understand it, age 8, 9, 10. And that always has stayed there. And now for me, it's like, you know what? I want to start giving back to them have fun, travel, experience, right, with certain things. And aside from that is to help my generation, my family move on to the next level, because we don't want to be in the same, rat race every single generation. And someone has to do it. And whoever has to do it has to roll with the punches, has to sacrifice time, because you mentioned time is the most important thing, right? And I learned to value time after time, just because those sacrifices means, not going really to have fun, or maybe it's spending time with family who, unfortunately, I had grandparents that passed away that I could have spent more time with, but I was focused on creating this sort of legacy, so that all their strength, all their efforts made sense, and it meant something for future generations of my family. So, and that hurt me a lot that they passed away and I couldn't really be there for them.
Yeah.
But those are sort of sacrifices that I had to make, which it sucks. But again, they were proud of me. They didn't know what I was working on, what I was doing. My grandma always told me, work smarter, not harder. So I always tried to do that. But just knowing that, she knew what I was up to, makes me also move forward. Because if you think about it, in our whole life, sometimes we have mentors, advisors, teachers, parents, close friends who gave us advice, who believed in us. And when you're at that verge of giving up, you don't allow yourself to give up, because there's people depending on you. There's people who believed in you, and you can't let them down, because they also, invested time into you as well. So all those memories comes back to me when I want to give up, and that what fuels me to keep moving forward. because it's so easy to give up. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's times I wanted to give up in college. I was the first one to go to college. I had no any guidance, and I failed calculus 3 times. I mean, that's how bad I was in math. Got the 3 times, I got an A, right? So it's like, yes, but I wanted to give up. So because it's easy to give up, but I couldn't. Also because I know that one day I'm going to have kids, and those kids are going to be like, "Well, Daddy didn't go to college, so why should I?" Right?
Yeah.
Well, I want to be like, you know what? I did it, and now I can advise you. If you want to do it, great. If you don't, that's okay too. I know what to expect, so I can advise them.
Yeah.
But I did it, and once you did it, sometimes kids want to exceed the expectation. I don't know. It's up to them, but they're not born yet. But basically, that's how I stay motivated. And for everybody, it could be a different reason what their why reason is. But it has to be a very, very strong one that's close to your heart that won't allow you to give up.
Yeah, it's so evident. It's so evident in just the passion of your story, what your why is. And I do think that's so important. And I'm listening to you talk. And one of the things that I do on my show is after the interview, I take a minute and I have a reflection. And so I do that as a solo part of my show that people hear that even you don't hear unless you listen to the episode and get to the end of it. But I just feel compelled to say a few things in the moment because that's what I'm feeling in this energy from you. As you were talking, the first word that I thought of was humility. And I think it's such an important characteristic to lean into and to embrace, because when you told the story about that guy who called you a dumb, Dominican and all of that, it's like, and for you to still go, this person has knowledge to share with me and he can influence me. You have to be humble in order to be able to manage that situation. Many people, and this is a thing that I really want to call out because this is something we will battle every day of our lives. It doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. It doesn't matter. You will battle your ego. You will battle your ego. And in moments like the one you were in is when you have to choose between your ego saying, "Oh, no, you didn't," and, doing whatever, either verbally or physically that could have, impacted that situation in a negative way. Or you can put that aside and have humility and respond differently and say, despite that not very finesse way of, communicating with me, there is something I can learn from this person. And obviously you took that, you heeded that advice and you have applied it forward. And then the second observation that I'll make is just around service and legacy, because your purpose and your why has brought you back to this place of recognizing how you grew up, how you want to respond as somebody who can change that for yourself and future generations, where you're focused on service and leaving a legacy, not on just, well, I'm just going to acquire all kinds of things, after I figure out how to make this money. And that is the difference between temporary and sustainment. So I just want to acknowledge that because that's just amazing. So amazing.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I'm speechless, but I appreciate that because I think more people have to understand that. I tell people always have a reason or excuse. And when I listen to them, I say, okay, you're not happy with your life. I understand you have different situations, a different lifestyle that I had. But change can happen baby steps. I tell folks, take maybe one day a week, 10 to 15 minutes. That's all you need. Read something new, learn a new skill, work on yourself. Those small steps will become bigger steps. And now you have your plan B to change your surroundings. It can even save money too, to buy a house or do something that will provide you passive income. But it's the little steps. I think people get overwhelmed with the big steps, the big goals, and don't start small.
Yeah.
So that's it. And I'm with you there.
This morning, do you ever listen to Ed Milet? So he is this influencer speaker. He wrote this book, and it's on pre-order right now, and it's called The Power of One More. Anyways, today he's doing this virtual event, and it's all day long. Like if you buy his book, you can tune into this virtual event where he has invited all these different speakers who are coaches and things to talk. So I tuned in this morning because I did like pre-order his book. And one of the first speakers that he had on stage was this guy named Jim Quick. Jim Quick has his own podcast. He's an expert on learning really, really, really fast and retaining information. Like one of the things that he does sometimes when he's on stage is people will, 100 people will get up and introduce themselves, and he'll remember every single one of their names. Like that's how his brain and his real last name is Quick, which is crazy. So he kind of does use that to his advantage with his brand, but he just learns really, really quickly. And so he teaches other people how to use the tools that he's mastered to learn quickly too, like to speed read, how to retain information, stuff like that. One of the things that you said reminded me of a quote that I heard from him this morning, and I wrote it down in my notebook. And he says, if you fight for your limitations, you will keep them. You get to keep them. When you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. So for example, when you say, oh, okay, well, I grew up in the projects and, this is how life was. And, getting even just food was hard. Well, those were my limitations. You could keep them if that's how you stay in those limiting beliefs. But you chose something else. And here you are. And your story is such a testament to that. But I appreciate, and that's the power of learning is every day when you make a decision to learn, you will learn, it doesn't have to be. And that's the craziest thing right now. And that's why I do not take excuses, quite frankly, in this day and age, because see, when I was growing up, college, and yes, like that was the thing. You have to go to college and get good grades, get a good job, get a degree. And I would say that is still something today that is, professed. I do think I would still encourage someone if they didn't want to. I just think there's many other pathways today because information is so abundant that it's at your fingertips and you can learn how to be absolutely anything. If you just like go to YouTube, you want to learn how to be a makeup artist, how to fix different, there's a video and there's information and you don't even have to pay for it. Like, can you imagine if when I was younger, what I would be doing if all that stuff was free? Like I had to go to school. I had to go to the library. I had to open the book, read the book, put tabs on the book, highlight the book, and then reread it because I didn't have like the videos and all the stuff, and I realized that I'm now sounding like the parents that say they had to walk uphill with no shoes and like all that, but it's like, it's real. I'm just saying.
I was there too. I remember.
It's free. Oh my gosh. That's what drives me crazy. It's like you could literally become anything today. And the thing about it, it's a matter of months, not even years. For you or me, if you went to school, it's like a minimum of, maybe there's some people on the fast track and they can do it, in less than 4 years to get their bachelor's. Maybe they do it in like half the time or something, but it's still years. It's still years to meet those requirements. And today, in a couple months, you can be like, oh, I know how to do X, Y, and Z. So I'm just like, it's crazy, right? It's crazy. Go ahead.
If you think about it now, there's virtual reality.
Yes. Virtual reality. Yeah. So do you keep in touch with the folks that you used to work with? Like, has any of those people come over and worked with you in your new business ventures, or do you not talk to those folks too much anymore?
Like my mentors? Do you mean
your previous, like the previous tech world that you were in before, like the company, and like you spent a decade doing that. Do you still stay connected and bring people over into the new ventures that you're doing today?
Yes, I do. I do. We're happy. I mean, I'm happy to have LinkedIn and Facebook because that's people see what I'm up to, and then
Yeah.
they start asking me questions. I'm now beginning to do now workshops, getting those up and ready just so I can educate people and as a whole, not just one by one, just to make it
Yeah.
easier on myself. But yeah, I still stay in touch, and I'm still in the tech world in some way, just because I'm in this 3D printing environment, and anything virtual reality or augmented reality, I still follow just because I love that technology. That I was involved and still am in some way. I still have it in my house and put it on and stuff like that. But
It's amazing.
it's
Those
cool stuff.
glasses are crazy. I don't know about the $10,000 ones, but there's other ones that are cheaper. Those are really cool too. Um, so I have to ask you about what are you most excited about right now? Like I know you talked about the billion lives that you want to impact, but is there any other projects or things that you're working on that you're most excited about that you want to tell people about?
Yeah. So it's mostly the real estate part of things, just because 3D printing is going to change the landscape in a great way. And right now, I have a few universities that are interested in working with me in terms of going writing grants together, which that's another tip for folks out there. Depending what your nonprofit is, you can go after grants with your own town, community, or university,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what you're looking to do. So what I'm working on, this construction and this robotic machine, many universities haven't tapped into that, and they're interested in learning more about it, and they want to give MBA or capstone students the opportunity to research and understand it, and have engineers go through the material science of the concrete and how that works, etc. So it's great because there's funding available. I think as a society, we're all trying to go green because it's healthy for the environment. And this is part of the entrepreneurship, right? This is part of the journey where you don't know what the unseen is. You don't know what's coming up next. And as an entrepreneur, it can be scary sometimes, but exciting because things are moving forward and you learn as you go. So I can say here, I'm not an expert in 3D printing. I've been in it for 2 years. I know enough, but I still have things to learn. We all have things to learn every single day. So
Yeah.
just the fact that people are beginning to understand, hey, this home shortage isn't a real issue now. There's people in the streets. Inflation is going up the roof. Even first-time home buyers can't afford a home. I mean, it's looking really bad out there.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a solution that can solve that issue, and that's what I'm looking forward to. And one thing I didn't mention about the nonprofit is that all the cash flow that we'll make from it is going to go into a fund where if you're a family who can afford rent, we're going to pay it for you. If you're a landlord that can't afford your mortgage, we're going to pay it for you. If you're a family who cannot afford the internet access for work or school purposes, we're going to cover it for you as well. We, again, once again, taking money out from the equation and plugging in empowerment. And that's why I believe we're going to impact so many folks, because some folks like to pocket that money. We're not going to pocket it. We're going to have a circlet around all the apartments that we're going to have, so it can protect people from the pandemic. Because you and I saw in 2020, many folks were out in the streets. No one could afford rents. Landlords were evicting people. I mean, it was really bad out there. There was no plan B. I mean, you think there'll be a plan B for something like that, and there wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking to protect people from the next, hopefully it doesn't come, but pandemic or some sort of disaster that can come from the
Mm-hmm.
world or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Reynaldo, what is it that people should reach out to you for, and how would they do that?
So you can find me on LinkedIn or Facebook or reynaldosantana.org. And you can reach out to me if you're interested in starting your own digital nonprofit that aligns with your for-profit, or if you're an existing nonprofit looking to have access to those grants, happy to help you there. Overall, if you're looking to donate money to ESG to support us with that beautiful vision, we're happy to have you. And lastly, if you're looking for mentorship, coaching, or a speaker, I'm happy to be that guy for you. So
Oh my
that's
gosh.
it.
All those things. Awesome. Well, I'm going to end with a couple of questions that will let people get to know you better, because that's what this show is all about, is leaning into who you are and embracing who you are. So my first question is, what makes you unbreakable?
What makes me unbreakable? That's a great question. What makes me unbreakable? I mean, there's no perfect answer to that, but I say my past, my memories, my experiences. That is what makes me unbreakable. Yeah,
It's
that's
beautiful.
that's
It's
it.
beautiful. No, I love that. And I love your story. So I can understand where you're coming from.
I tell people anywhere, I am who I am because of my community, because people who are around me, my family, my friends, my teachers. Everybody has something that they invested inside of me that made me who I am today. So that's why I'm always grateful and appreciative of people around me. And I still go back to my elementary or middle school, to say thank you so much, because
Yeah.
now I understand where you're coming from. And sometimes teachers travel an hour to teach us, and I didn't know that. And I didn't know how much they were making salaries, but they did it because they love to teach, they love to help. And people like that, I really appreciate,
Absolutely. Okay. What is something that's on your bucket list?
Bucket list. Ooh, that's a good one. Well, right now is to obtain a pilot license to fly an airplane for fun.
Whoa, I like it. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah. Then you
yeah. I had
can,
only one left.
you got what?
I've taken only one lesson so far, and
Okay.
it was awesome
But
on my birthday.
yeah, you have gotten started then though.
Yes, yes. So my goal is to obtain that license so I can take flights and hopefully one day, take my parents or my children, my future children. I have my kids now, my future kids on plane rides with me as well. Yeah, I love to
Yeah.
explore. I love to travel.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. I love that. Okay. What is a self-limiting belief that you've had to overcome?
Ooh, that's a good one. Self belief that I wasn't smart, basically, that I wasn't going to make. I mean, I was a DC student. I was in special ed classes as well because my English wasn't that good and my Spanish. People thought I was slow. They thought I was special. They thought I was, just not normal. So that belief of, wow, I'm always going to be stupid, or I'm always going to be behind, or people always going to make fun of me. Always people going to think I'm not going to be that, I guess, normal in society. And that hurt and sucks. But one thing I did want to mention in the podcast is one thing is what you think up here, but also what you say up here. I always knew that I was going to do something big in my life. I always knew I was going to do something impactful, help a lot of people, and be successful. As a young boy, even though I went through all the bullying and all that stuff, I always believed that. Yeah. And I proved to myself when I was in high school, sitting in my last row of the class, I barely graduated 1.8 GPA. And I told myself, because I saw my friends on stage and speaking, I'm like, I can do that too.
Yeah.
So I told myself, you know what? In 4 years, I'm going to be on that stage. And you know what? That's what happened in college. I opened up the ceremony. I was on stage. I got a medal that was presented to only 7 students out of the 2,000. And I cried on that stage because I remember those words. And I remember all the bullying that I went through. And I really felt it, So
Yeah.
anything's possible.
Anything is possible. Oh my gosh, that's incredible. Okay, what would you say is a superpower? Something that you are so proud of about yourself?
That's just my personality. I'm telling you, I've been through some rough communities, very dangerous. I mean, cartel level. I'm not gonna go into that one, but all the way up to billionaires, etc. And no matter what, I get along with everybody. So I don't know if it's because I'm charismatic or if it's because I'm chubby. Chubby guys are jolly. I don't know what it is, but I get along with everybody. And
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Reynaldo, you are too much right now. Oh,
True.
I was like the charismatic part. Oh yeah, I could totally see that. But like I said, I think your humility, your charisma, and truly your honesty, like you said, the transparency. I think when you're somebody who doesn't try to sugarcoat things and says things for what they really are, people can gravitate to having more trust because you're not trying to, show perfection. You're just showing the reality. And I think that's an important thing. Um, yeah, wow. Yeah, that was so funny. Oh boy. Okay. If you could give one last piece of advice to anybody who's listening right now, what would that be?
That's a great question, Des. I would have to say that yourself more than you trust more than you think you trust yourselves.
Mhm.
That's really important.
Trusting ourselves.
Um, more than you think you trust yourself. Because I think you can be with family, you can be with friends, but at the end of the day, it's really you're alone inside your head, and you speak to yourself alone,
Mhm.
and only you make the decisions. Only you go through whatever you're going through yourself. And I mean, that's what helped me through everything is being honest with myself and speaking to myself. Even though people think that's crazy, but I think it's really healthy actually to speak to yourself,
Yeah.
even hug yourself, uh, even give yourself little treats, go on the beach or something by yourself. But I think it's really, really important um, because I remember being even a musician, 7, 8 years old, playing in front of 200 people. I spoke to myself on stage, come on, Reynaldo, you can do it. Believe in yourself. And then on stage, I was a different guy and bam, performed.
Boom.
And same thing with going, into with investors or meeting with customers or doing my own business. It all took me speaking to myself and having confidence in myself and being the best advocate for me. Because it's true what they say, you're your best advocate, but also your worst enemy, depending on what you tell yourself up here.
Mhm.
So that's my best piece of advice is love yourself more, appreciate yourself more, because every day we face danger. We don't think about it, but we do face danger, and we face a lot of decisions, and we are also our CEOs of our own bodies and our future, and we don't appreciate ourselves enough of what we go through. So that's what I have to say in terms of an advice.
Oh my gosh. We are the CEOs. We are. Oh, that's so true. We are so much more powerful than we recognize every day. That is a lot of power, you
Yes.
know, but we just give credence to all the things that other people say when we could be saying those things to ourselves every morning and every night.
There's a reason, there's a reason why Des, we have to stop being programmed and learn to program ourselves. That's it. Once you know how to program yourself, you're unstoppable. Uh, that's it. And hopefully people understand what that means. But um, if you want to take that away, you can do that, Des.
Yeah.
But
Mic
that's really
drop.
important.
Mic drop. Bam. That's a great note to end on. But you know what, Reynaldo, I appreciate it. This you are in such a territory right now that we need more people like you touching these spaces that need to be brought together for profits with nonprofits and influencing things like real estate and tech and communities that feel like they don't have access, and giving them the opportunity to not only have access, but to take ownership for doing things like creating passive income, which, as we've seen with the most successful people in the world, has changed their lives, being able to do little by little, step by step. Do things like create passive income. So I know despite our technical difficulties that we had today, thank you for hanging with me, sticking with me, and being able to share all your amazing knowledge on the show today. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure, Des. Any single time. You let me know. Happy to share more value and energy with people. Good vibrations. That's what we need every single day. Thank
That's
you.
right. That's right. Oh, this is awesome. Thank you. Okay, I think that let me see if I can. Well, I don't think I can like stop it or anything because I started it on this other computer. If I end it, then we're gonna get cut off. But this
Okay.
was great. This was so good. I'm so grateful. Thanks for being able to switch gears from one platform to another. But I figured since this was successful today, then probably it would yield us some decency.
I agree. Thanks so much for being flexible with me
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely, absolutely. But like I said, when everything is edited, we'll put together a little trailer so you could put it wherever you want. If there's any places that you promote new things that you're doing or podcasts that you're on, yeah, and it'll come out in less than a week. So I'll
Perfect.
send you all the details.
Thank you so much, Des. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Had so much fun. You're awesome
yeah.
at this.
Oh, thank you so much. But have a good rest of your day. And I hope your technology doesn't, give you too much trouble.
Likewise.
Yeah. And have a good Memorial Day weekend.
Thank you, you too.
Okay.
All right.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh boy. What a morning and what an interview. I tell you what, technology, it is either my best friend or sometimes my worst enemy. I use a platform called Squadcast to do my podcast recordings. Other podcasters use platforms, for example, StreamYard, Riverside, also Zoom, but these podcast specific platforms have been created for folks like me who want richer audio quality and just some of that advanced capability. Reynaldo and I were having some trouble. He actually just had some equipment exchanged for his internet service. And for some reason, I don't know if it's just how Squadcast uses the internet. It was giving us trouble. So I had to switch over to Zoom and now I'm back on Squadcast. It's a lot. It's probably more than what you even care to hear about, but it's just the behind the scenes stuff that, sometimes it's nice to share because it just shows that no matter how much experience you have doing something, there's always things that can go awry and you have to, I like what Reynaldo said, you have to roll with the punches. You just have to kind of go with things. And that's certainly how we rolled with today, but got a lot of powerful information about his interview. And honestly, it's the power of story. I knew some of his story and I knew the space that he was in, and I think it's tremendous. I understand there's a lot of you out there that are just fighting the good fight, wanting to make money for your business, but also obtain money for your business. And this is such an incredible way, looking at how you can make this nonprofit arm so you can do things like education and get funding, get grants. And how incredible is it to learn about that Google ad grant? So my action item for you, my request for you today, if you are somebody who is in business and ready to look at expanding in terms of marketing and reaching more people, more countries, a bigger market, look up that Google ad grant. Before you do that, you've got to take that step of having the nonprofit. I know a little bit about that, have done some work on that here in Nevada with Aaron, my partner. We did some of that work for A Little Help Foundation. And I have some friends who are in this space. So do that effort. All the information is available online. It's easier than it sounds, like starting a nonprofit. It really is just the formality of the steps that you take to become a 501(c). And then after you do that, you can go and pursue grants like what Reynaldo was talking about, like the Google ad grant. Can you imagine? Imagine for a moment you having access to endless Google ads. Google is the number one place anybody looks for anything. If your service or product was out there and more people could discover it, because that is the key, right? Is like when you are just in your home, you've got something incredible to share with the world. How do you do that? It's possible. It's possible. So I would encourage you to go take a look at that. And, you know, I was just so compelled by Reynaldo's story. My second encouragement to you today is to come back to your why. Come back to your why. He talked about his why being his family, recognizing where he came from and the influence that he wanted to make differently on the future for the next generation, for his future generation of children, his community. And that's what he wakes up thinking about every day as he is wanting to influence these billion lives out there with the work that he's doing. What is your why? Why do you wake up in the morning? What keeps you going? What keeps you determined, keeps you driven? When you're in those moments when you say, no, I can't, I don't want to, you decide to shift your language and say, I can, I'm capable. We all need that why to drive us and remind us what we're here to do every day. When you lose sight of that, it's so easy to drift into the valley of despair. So ask yourself that question, really lean into that. If you're in a place right now where you're feeling down, you're feeling out, you're feeling depressed, you have anxiety, tap into that. Tap into that why. Get closer to that, whether it's your faith that's going to pull you closer, whether it's that pep talk like Reynaldo was talking about. Sometimes we just have to have a conversation with ourselves. I do that all the time. Boy, do I do that when it comes time to work out and push through and persevere and get my butt, moving. It's so easy to be complacent and sedentary in this, virtual world that we're living in now. So that's where I have to do a lot of my pep talks, but do it for yourself. I appreciate you hanging in with the technology today. Hopefully you made it this far. Make sure, if you haven't already, subscribe, follow, share, comment, all that kind of good stuff. Give me a rating and review. That helps people find the show. I appreciate you supporting Born Unbreakable. It means the world to me. And remember, you are your only limit. So take action today. See you next time.